we've had other people sitting in with us on and off, but that was kind of the core of the band as we formed in Seattle 15 years ago.
Wow, and you also have sitting in the background, you've also got a chicken or a rooster or something cock-a-doing in the background.
You know, I apologize for that. I told them I was going to be on the air, but they just, they're photobombing me.
Yep, they're trying to make sure. They're trying to make sure my show lays an egg, right?
They faced incredible odds.
I just can't do it, Captain. I don't have the power.
An unbeatable enemy.
It's a madhouse.
To earn the name
ignorant slut.
But now there's a new way to spell action.
It's midday, and rubbish transvestite
Dave Darin
is paying a visit.
I'm from Philadelphia.
Hello? Hello?
Woodard.
Take Broad Street North, right on Passyunk Avenue.
Oh, you're from Philadelphia? Kind of like the mummers and cheesesteaks and pretzels.
He's the best there is.
That is so gay.
Yeah. Hero.
He's got his head up his butt, but he's really interesting.
Listen, Dick, how would you like me to make your life a living hell?
Do not go in there.
See?
One that would have been here.
Interesting. This is why you're my favorite DJ on this.
There's no place he won't go. Nothing he won't do.
Are you threatening me?
And no one
Major wow factor
he can't handle.
Dave Darin.
Yes, yes, yes.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Aloha, Dave.
Hey,
Greetings
good.
from the Big Island. Greetings from the Big Island of Hawaii.
Cool. Let me tune in here in a bigger picture, so I got you full size. This is Seventh Order, and we got the band on here. We got one of the guys in the band anyway. So Seventh Order is giving the names of the guys in the band, including yourself, of course.
Okay, well, I'm Daniel Jones, and in addition to myself, we've got a couple of friends of mine from way back, a fellow named Marin Pugh, who some listeners might know. He was previously with SteamHammer in England in the 60s, and then Armageddon in the mid-70s with Keith Relf of the Yardbirds. Geoff Thorpe, who's also in a band that some of your listeners might know, Vicious Rumors. And we've got a drummer, a couple of drummers that we use. One of them is Tim Kelliher over there in Seattle. And he's, some people might know him from Randy Hansen's Machine Gun and a couple other great bands. So we've had other people sitting in with us on and off, but that was kind of the core of the band as we formed in Seattle 15 years ago.
Wow, and you also have sitting in the background, you've also got a chicken or a rooster or something cock-a-doing in the background.
You know, I apologize for that. I told them I was going to be on the air, but they just, they're photobombing me.
Yep, they're trying to make sure. They're trying to make sure my show lays an egg, right? Is that it? That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, they might be up to that. You bet.
Yep.
Sorry if that's just.
No. Can you do me a favor though? Can you angle the camera the other way so I get the long view of you instead of the up and down? Can you do that?
Let's see. Yeah, let's try this. Yeah.
Flip it around. This is
okay.
This is obviously some engineering work here, and it worked. Look at that. Perfect.
Okay. Good job.
Okay. Yeah, that's. When I first started doing the radio show, all the interviews I did were all like that, and it's much better to have the full view. So,
okay.
You guys have been around for a little while. When did you guys start? Now, is it the same guys in the band from the initial creation?
We've had some changes to the lineup, but it started 15 years ago. In 2000, we just celebrated our 15th anniversary, it's sort of a thing where myself and Geoff Thorpe and Marin Pugh in 2001 had decided, to collaborate and come up with some stuff. The thing is that, Martin and Geoff are both really as committed to their other projects, and this is something we sort of did, kind of for fun. But I'm the one mainstay. Those guys are fluid members and can kind of sit in or not sit in as suits them. So that's basically how we're handling it. But we just, a year and a half ago, we released a compilation CD, kind of a career retrospective called The Initiate's Journey, 2003 to 13. And that's kind of a summary, the various lineup changes are reflected, and some of our, more well-known songs. So, and now we're getting ready I'm writing new material now for our next release, and we hope to have something out new in the next maybe 6 months.
Very cool, awesome. And by the way, it's funny,
Yeah.
the rooster in the background brings back a story about me when I used to live in this apartment complex. And I used to hear this rooster, or who was it? I met the girl that had it, but it was called a cockatoo or something like that.
Oh, yeah, cockatoo, sure.
Yeah, and cockatoos, you can teach them how to talk, right?
Oh, you bet, yeah.
Okay, now the funny thing with this chick is she must have had a boyfriend that came to the apartment often enough where they had enough sex in that apartment, and the bird learned how to do orgasms to imitate the girl that lived in that apartment. Can you believe that?
Wow. Well, that would be pretty distracting, I can imagine.
Yeah, so it's funny, when I first heard it, I wasn't sure if it was the chick having an orgasm. Then I finally looked up and I saw the woman outside walking around doing something. So I knew it wasn't her, but then I thought maybe she's got a roommate or something like that. And I thought, if she's got this vocal of an orgasmic sound, I better hook up with these chicks, right? Because I might have ruined my love life.
That'd be wonderful for a guy's, like self-esteem, I mean, all I have to do is look at her.
Yeah, well, it wasn't that good for the guy's self-esteem because the cockatoo ended in about 20 seconds every time he started it up. So it wasn't that good for the guy, right?
It's a mixed bag,
It's a mixed bag.
So it was neither fish nor fowl.
Right, and it was a mixed bag. In fact, if you met the woman, which I did, I would have done her, but I would have had to put a mixed bag over her head. So what's that?
Oh, God bless you. Okay, so where was this? Was this in New York? Somebody had chickens?
No, this was actually in Wilmington, Delaware. I lived in Wilmington, Delaware. God help me.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was there.
Well,
Oak Tree Apartments. I remember the Oak Tree Apartments. I remember, of course, the orgasm. I remember the nights of coming home stoned out of my mind because this was a long time ago. But I'll tell you what. Let's talk about some of your music. Then I want to come back. I want to come back and talk about music, obviously, instead of getting like women. But I want to ask this. A long time ago, when you guys started out, 15 years ago, to current.
Yes, sir.
How's the music, obviously, along those years have changed quite a bit? Do you get a lot of demand for your original music?
Actually, we do. And we're sort of this way. I mean, because I'm 55 years old, and I've been playing music professionally since I was 17. And same with the other guys. We're sort of seasoned veterans, and you've seen styles, trends come and go. Some things are sort of timeless. And I sort of feel like the blues or anything blues based holds up pretty well. So we've pretty much stayed true to that vision. And, I figure it this way. We write something, we come up with new music, and my sort of acid test for it, if this is going to work and this is going to fit for us as a band, can I play it solo acoustic in a blues club and it'll work? And that's sort of the barometer, that sort of tells me, if I'm on the right path with new material or not. I don't know, does that answer your question?
Absolutely, yeah. Now, when you write the new music, obviously you've got the inspirations from the band as it was initially formed. Do you write music true to your original concept, or do you really write based upon thinking about new material, new perception of music, new appreciation of music? What do you do as far as modernizing, or is it not important for you to modernize because you had a good groove, you respect the groove, you love the groove, and you stick with that formula?
I think you hit on it right there, because that's what it's all about, is the groove, finding the groove of the song. And I really feel like that's timeless, and in any genre, that's going to fit. If you look at bands that have had the longevity, the Rolling Stones or the Yardbirds or Led Zeppelin or the Who. Those were bands that what they did was they found the groove of a song and ran with it. And those guys were experts at it, by the way. I mean, think about it this way. If they found a stack of old Elvis Presley tapes and they mix it, master it, press it, and put it out, it's number one the day it hits the stores, right?
Right.
So, trends come and go, but some things are timeless. And I think you use the word groove, and I think that's what it's all about. That's what everybody loves. So I look, when I'm writing, I'm trying to come up with something, I'm looking for the groove.
Cool. You know what? I noticed this because since I've been following music for a lot of years, and I used to play in a band some time back, I've noticed that, it's funny because when my parents were growing up and I was listening to the current music at the time when I was growing up, my parents used to say, turn that shit off, Dave, play some of this music. And now we're in a different time of music where things are different. However, the young people that listen to the current rock music that I have on the show, they really they're deprived in that music, and when they finally listen to it, they dig it and they love it. So I'm trying to bring back the rock music instead of the stuff you hear on Top 40 radio.
Dave, I mean, you're hitting a bullseye there. I got to tell you, I mean, you make such a wonderful point. When I was a kid, 13, 14 years old, and I was blasting whatever it was I was blasting, the first Hendrix album or Cream or, whatever, Led Zeppelin, Jeff Beck. And my parents were yelling, turn that down, turn that down. Well, flash forward to my 40s, and if I'm over visiting my parents or something, I remember walking through the front room, and my mother, God rest her soul, had Joe Cocker singing Bye Bye Blackbird with Jimmy Page on guitar and singing along with it, because it was on the soundtrack to a movie, and I thought that really, that just kind of brings it all together. We weren't that far apart, to begin with. Yeah. So again, some things are timeless.
Yeah, it's true. It's really interesting. So we're going to play a track of your music in 1 second, but I'm curious about this. The initial inception of the band and the band as it currently is. There was a gap in the playing, in the music creativity in that set of 15 years, or were you guys still doing stuff periodically?
We were still doing stuff periodically. The thing was that, Geoff Thorpe was with his band Vicious Rumors, and Seventh Order was sort of a side project for him. His band, by the way, has a new CD out, if I can give it a plug, Concussion Protocol, and it's burning up the charts. And I recommend to all your listeners, check those guys out. But and Martin is committed. He's got a family, he's got young children, and that sort of thing. And so he couldn't just run away from all that and go on tour. So we would take periodic breaks and work on stuff as our schedules permitted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough because I have a wife too, and she appreciates the fact that I travel around doing not only my day gig but the radio gig, and she respects that. So it's funny because I kind of lucked into that. But at the time when I met her, she was cute enough where I'd probably be seduced to being with her and marrying her, and maybe not taking the risk of losing my radio career or ability to travel. Family can play into that, and it makes it difficult. Because let me ask you this: music can make life a challenge for the wrong marital situation. Did you personally look around for the right person to be with? Did you bring that aspect up to the situation? Because that's an important situation. Eventually, it's got to be dealt with.
Yeah, it is, and I think kind of the bigger point that you're making is a really good one, and that with music business lifestyles, relationships can be it's a unique set of challenges, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because just for example, if you're touring and it happens to be Valentine's Day, well, what are you going to do? You found a partner that lets you be who you are and accepts you, and the certain challenges or limitations or whatever that come into that. And I think as a musician, you have to just kind of be aware that that's the case. And as your courtship or getting to know each other is happening, you just have to sort of establish, that, I love you, but, I might find myself on the road for 2 months or something. And that's just, is our relationship going to be able to withstand that?
Yeah.
And it sounds like,
Yeah,
sounds like you found an exceptional gal, and as I have as well. So
yeah, it's very cool. But I got to say that if I did not find the right gal, or if you didn't, or some musicians don't, music is so intimate and so important to people like you and I that if you find yourself in the wrong situation, it can literally rip your heart apart, and almost it can make the right and left side of your human brain rip itself apart, because you've got to have an outlet for the creativity that's locked away, right? There's no choice.
You bet. And I think it comes down to like a security thing. If you're partnered with somebody who's secure enough within themselves, where they don't, they don't interpret your being on tour over Valentine's Day as some kind of slight, or, like the relationship isn't important. Well, of course the relationship's important, but I've worked my whole life to build this career, okay? And so I'm going to need a little bit of flexibility, and I've been very fortunate in that respect. So,
Well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to play a track of your music, and I have a couple selections here from you. I have one of them that was just an audio, and I put some video to it, and the other one is you guys, I believe, with video already prepared. So I have the two tracks, and I'm going to play the first one I've got here, which is, let me pull it up here. Do you remember which one it was off the top of your head?
Probably the audio track was, I would imagine, The Lake of Memory, which is one of our bigger songs.
Right, okay.
Force of Nature Comes Down.
Okay, and let me find them here.
Okay.
I've got Force of Nature Comes Down. That's a newer track, by the way, I'm sure it is, right?
It's not a newer track, but it's on our career retrospective CD. So it's new in that way of thinking.
Okay, so what I'm going to do here is we're going to play The Lake of Memory first. That's the first one we're going to play. And by the way, when I come back, I'm going to hopefully you're going to get that rooster or that chicken. And when you come back, I want to see you eating a chicken sandwich. Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna see what I can do.
Decide my own destiny.
welcome back to the show. Tremendous track, by the way. I loved it. We're back here with Seventh Order, and we're rapping here with the guys in the band. All the guys aren't there right now, and we did shout out their names. Where are they right now? Are they practicing? Are they doing their family life thing? What's going on with those guys?
Well, boy, we couldn't be more spread out at the moment. I'm here in East Hawaii, in the remote jungles of Polynesia. Martin is in Central California. Geoff Thorpe is as a matter of fact, he's over in Europe right now. I believe he's in Germany at the moment. Tim's up in Seattle. So, we're scattered to the wind at the moment.
Yep, and I asked that question.
But that's...
I kind of asked that question because I knew you guys were scattered. But how do you guys compile the creative flow of your music when you're so scattered around? You wait until you're uniformly connected? Do you send music material out over the wire? And then you guys work your creative individuality into the music? Or how do you do that? How do you compile music when the individuals are not locally, available?
Well, I'm sort of I'm the primary songwriter, so it's pretty much my original idea, everything we've done, basically. And I might track a demo at home and send out MP3s, over the internet, just so guys can listen to it and get a sense for arrangements, and maybe start coming up with their ideas as a contribution. And here's the thing, Dave, and I think this is something that's sort of lost. It's a lost art or a lost wisdom in creating music. Urgency, when you get together and you've got limited amount of time to get the job done. I think that putting that kind of pressure on yourself, you're sort of forced to dig down deep and come up with the goods. If you look at some of the great records that have been made over time, Led Zeppelin's first album was made in 5 days. So the Doors' first album, that was made in probably a couple of days, And then you look at some records that have taken 3 years to make, and I won't name the bands, but I've seen albums take 3 years to make and they weren't all that interesting. So I think that being spread out actually kind of works to our advantage. So when we're all together, there's the clock is ticking and people are working hard to come up with the goods.
Oh, interesting answer. I appreciate that one, and I understand it pretty thoroughly too. Very cool, very cool. When you guys first met and formed the band that 15 years ago, was it an instant connection? Was it a massaging of personalities that had to make the click work? Was it as instant as you mentioned, better music comes out kind of quickly and the pressure's on and you compile the music? How about the inception of the band? Was it a click that happened instantaneously, or was it a massaging of parts and the right people coming in to create the band?
Well, that's how that worked out was we had known each other for years before working together. I mean, Geoff Thorpe and I, for example, we went to school together in Honolulu in the 1960s. So, we sort of, grew up together, and we went to see all the shows in Honolulu when we were 13, 14, 15 years old. Whoever came through town, Jeff Beck on the Blow by Blow tour, Eric Clapton, Deep Purple. We had second row, their first show ever with Tommy Bolin. I don't know if you remember Tommy Bolin or not, but you remember Tommy?
Yeah.
We saw his first show ever. So, we sort of developed our tastes together, and we're in our mid-50s now, so we go back that far. Martin, that's kind of an interesting piece of the story because Martin was in Armageddon in the mid-70s, if you remember them. Keith Relf of the Yardbirds, Louis Sinamo on bass from SteamHammer and Renaissance, Bobby Caldwell on drums from Captain Beyond and Johnny Winter's band. That was a big influence on Jeff and I when we were kids. So Martin was one of our guitar idols, like a Jeff Beck or a Jimmy Page or a Tommy Bolin. So our musical connections go back a long, long way before we decided to pool up our talents together in 2001.
Wow.
So we didn't just meet each other and say, hey, let's do something.
Well, very cool. I'm curious about this, since you're the major production of the music that comes out of mostly yourself. Do you write primarily from what's happened in your life, or do you fabricate when you write?
I can only write from what's happened in my life. That's just how I am. As a songwriter myself, my influences would have been like, say, a Bob Dylan, George Harrison, and guys from like the Yardbirds or Led Zeppelin or whatever. When I heard guys who could write in the third person, for example, I think a great example of that is Roger McGuinn of the Byrds did a song years ago called Cardiff Rose, which was he's a pirate. He writes a song from the vantage point of being a pirate. I can't do that. I just don't have that. That's just not my gift. So I have to write from experience. I have to have something happen to me and stir up enough emotion to feel like I have to, start putting lyrics.
From that perspective, has it become easier to write? Because obviously, as people have gotten older, they've progressed and learned more things in their background. They've had more things happen to them. So for me, when I write music, which I still do periodically, sometimes I think I can write easier now because there's more emotions and more things to draw upon than there used to be. True with you?
Yeah.
Is it easier now?
Yeah, I think it is actually. Because I know how to access that part of me a little better. Instead of stuff just kind of coming tumbling out, I have a better sense for the process. And here's another element to it all, and I don't know if you'll identify with this or not, but as if Mick Jagger is writing songs, or Robert Plant, or someone who's a vocalist and not so much an instrumentalist, they come up with a vocal melody and the lyrics, I would imagine first. For me, I write the riff, and I'll probably even track it first. I'll track the riff, and then I'll put the headphones on and a tape player and walk around and listen to that for like hours and just see what words start to go along with the music. I'll let the music kind of drive that. What am I thinking and what am I feeling when I hear this riff?
Yeah.
So that's sort of how I approach it.
Yeah, that's the way I approach it too, and I'm familiar with that approach. The reverse would be complicated for me, and it's almost like, because each note of a musical instrument has not only a pitch, a vibe, but each note has almost like a heart and a feeling to it, especially when you combine the notes together. So it's almost like that is what drives the passion of the words of the song. At least to me it feels that way. And not to everybody, but to you and I it seems to be that way. Yep.
Absolutely. And I think I've heard other people say that. I sort of just discovered that process on my own, but I heard Jeff Beck talking a few years back about the song Two Rivers from the Guitar Shop album, and he said they tracked it, and then they all had the headphones on, and Jeff sort of asked Terry Bozzio and Tony Hymas, who were, collaborating with them on it, what visual do you get as you listen to this music? And I think Terry Bozzio said, I see two rivers, and that's the mental picture I get. So, I like that the music, let the music sort of reveal what the song is about to you.
Sure, absolutely. I'll tell you what, let's play the other piece of music right now, that I want to make sure we come back to you and talk about stuff that's coming up, when you guys have any material coming up. So we're going to play the other track right now, which was called, what was it called again?
I think Force of Nature Comes Down.
Okay, and that's what we're going to talk about, we're going to play it. Tell me about it before we play it, though. How did you compose that? What was your frame of mind when you wrote it? Give me the visuals that were in your head when you actually were playing the riffs before the words came out?
Okay. Well, it was at a time that, I mean, we're sort of in the age of like natural disasters. You know what I mean? With like, I don't know, just over our lifetime or just my adult lifetime, volcanoes going off. I live here on the Big Island of Hawaii. We have an active volcano that's been going off since 1984. Mount St. Helens.
I see lava behind you. Get out of the way. Turn to the right. Off to the right a little bit. I thought I saw some lava back there. Okay, you're safe. Don't worry. I was watching your back for you just in case there was a lava flow.
Thank you, Dave. I'm counting on you for that.
Okay.
Because I'd like to finish this interview.
Right. Although that'd be good for ratings, though, to have an artist buried in lava during the show. That'd be good. Okay.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No worries. It's all good. But so I just sort of see it that way, that we're sort of in the age of natural disasters, and the force of nature comes down. I mean, my sister lives in the Bay Area now. She left Hawaii a few years ago with her husband for work, in the Bay Area of California. And they're just getting pounded with rain. Dams are like, bursting and whatnot. And so it just kind of feels like, we're in that age. We're in the age of natural disasters, tsunamis, earthquakes, concerns about like asteroids hitting the planet, and the force of nature comes down. Mother Nature is going to do what Mother Nature is going to do. There's nothing we can do to influence it.
Yeah.
We got to live around it.
Yeah, that's right. I know, for instance, in New York City, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, and it didn't devastate New York as much as it did New Jersey, but we had Hurricane Sandy, and I was living through Hurricane Sandy. That was an intensity that no one obviously wants to live through, experience, see people's lives ripped apart. It was very sad. It was a tough time.
Well, and here in the Pacific, in the middle of the Pacific, we know all about hurricanes, and I don't know if you guys heard a couple of years ago, we had Hurricane Ezell, and it hit the Big Island where I live broadside, and it knocked out electricity for like a quarter of the island for 5 weeks.
Wow.
5 weeks. Yeah. So, the force of nature comes down. I heard George Carlin in an interview once on the old Art Bell show. So you listen to Art Bell back in the day.
George Norrie now, I don't know if it exists anymore, but I know George Norrie took it over, right?
I think it does, yeah. And a friend of mine, a guy I know from Honolulu, his name is Robert Knight. He's a world famous rock photographer. He's a guest on the show now and then. And so, I enjoy George Norrie and I enjoy the old Art Bell, but George Carlin was on once, and I heard him. Art Bell used to he would try and get him to talk about, things that were going on, like earthquakes and, tsunamis and whatnot. And George said, "Give me a front row seat. I'm here for the ride. The bigger the natural disaster, the better." And I thought, well, that's a pretty centered way of thinking about it. I'm here for the ride.
Yeah, pretty. George Carlin was a cool dude. If you followed his career, he was that guy was. I bet that guy could write music if he wanted to, because it seemed like he was so connected to everything that took place. He absorbed it in his mind and created comedy. Are you a funny guy? Do you think you are, where you could be funny creatively on stage as a comedian, or?
Well, I think I am. My friends tell me that I am. But you've hit on something else that's really kind of, we were talking about songwriting, and we're over on this topic. And I've always admired guys who could write with a sense of humor. Like, say, George Harrison was brilliant at writing with a sense of humor. Frank Zappa was brilliant at writing, humorous stuff. I can't seem to do that. That doesn't come naturally to me.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I get, maybe it comes, like I said, from being influenced by guys like the Bob Dylans of the world and whatnot, who didn't write joke songs, or the Yardbirds or Led Zeppelin or whatever, bluesier stuff, I just can't seem to write that way. But I've always admired it. And as you say, like George Carlin, writing songs, I think we stumbled across something. What if somebody took George Carlin monologues and put them to music?
Wow. Don't patent that. I've got to do it. While we're on break, Dave Darin is going to patent that idea. We didn't forget to play your piece of music. Let's do that right now. Okay?
Okay.
And then we'll come back and we'll talk to you about how to hook up with the band, the rest of the music that you guys have now coming along, and we're going to do that. But let's play the piece of music. I'm going to miniaturize the Skype. And here we go with the piece of music. Again, this is called, not the Lake of Memories. We did that one already. This is going to
Force of Nature.
Force of Nature. Here we go. Wow, incredible piece of music. Very different than the first one, right? Very different.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dave. Yeah, I thought they sort of came at it from a couple of different angles. Yeah.
Yeah, is it important to write with diversity? Obviously, people write music. If you think about it, like, who was a guy from the past? Like Chubby Checkers. You remember him? Chubby Checkers?
Oh, yeah, Let's Twist Again.
Right.
Yeah.
And, I did like his music, but it was sort of repetitive. He hit on a formula, and he protracted it to be a similar song after that. There was the twist and then let's twist again. They sounded very similar. Those two pieces of music were very diverse. Is it important from your perspective to write songs that are very diverse, or do you like the idea of being, writing some music that is of a formula and you're satisfied with that?
I like being diverse myself. I heard Jimmy Page say once, he was talking about the Beatles, and he said, isn't it amazing? They went from Please, Please Me to I Am the Walrus in 3 years, And I thought, okay, well, your writing, according to that way of thinking, can evolve, And, the Beatles could do, for example, if you listen to the Let It Be album, right, they could do the one after 909, and then they could do the Long and Winding Road,
Right.
So I think it makes for a more interesting listening experience. If you put on a Chubby Checker album, I guess it's great if you're at a dance, but that's all there is to it,
Yep, absolutely. What's coming up for you guys next? Now, I know that you guys are spread out. Are you guys going to unite in 3 months for that urgency of writing music? What's the next plan for you guys?
Well, I'm writing at the moment, even as we speak. I'm going through the coming up with song ideas process, and I've been talking frequently with Geoff Thorpe about us rendezvousing. And I hope something can happen. February? I'm thinking maybe May or June to be back in North America. And I'll tell you something that I think is important, Dave, to me at the moment, just the way I'm thinking about things. The way people record now, the way bands, even big bands, people are recording digital because it's inexpensive, it's easy, using stuff like Pro Tools to edit. I don't want to do our next project that way. I want to track to tape and go the old school way. Go back to the basics. If you listen to an Elvis Presley record, or the Beatles or Duane Eddy, or Jerry Lee Lewis, whatever, Yardbirds, that sound that you got from tracking to tape, I think, is vastly superior, to what we're doing digitally. So that's going to take a little more planning. Finding a studio that works that way in California is going to be part of our approach this time. So I figure by maybe May or June, we should be ready to start doing some recording and maybe have something out by the end of the summer.
Wow, very cool. And it's interesting that you said a couple things there that really went into my mind. I remember a long time ago, of course, we had vinyl. Not that long ago. Vinyl's coming back, by the way. But I remember some of the albums were called, maybe I have it partially right or partially wrong, but I think it was called Direct to Disc.
Yes.
And it was an incredible sound. And I remember specifically one album that I played quite a bit when I was younger. Probably smoking some weed while I was listening to it. But I remember Simon and Garfunkel, Bookends. Do you remember the clarity of that album, the tracks on that album, where it was almost like the equivalent of watching a TV program and then turning it on 10 years later and getting HD. The clarity was pristine. It was amazing. I remember that album vividly. So, and you're right.
Yeah.
There's some, by the way, before I came back to the West Coast a couple of years ago and then went back to New York City, I traveled into Sun Studios. You familiar with those guys in Tennessee?
Oh, yeah, Sam Phillips.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe they still track both ways, analog, and I think they have a digital capability as well. But they do retain their analog room as well, which is important to those guys. So tremendous.
Well, yeah. And, it's interesting you mentioned that, Sun Studios, and if you mentioned the Yardbirds or somebody like that, it was important for those guys. The Stones, when they came to the United States, they wanted to go to Chess Studios and track there, right? Yeah, when the Yardbirds were in North America in '65, Jeff Beck, Keith Relf, they wanted to go to Sun Studios and track there. So, and when we're talking about how that affects what we're doing, there's classic studios in the Bay Area in California, fantasy studios in Berkeley. I don't know if the record plant still exists up in Marin County, but there's something about those places and their history, and the energy to it that it's inspiring to you as a player to be in a room where like classic music has been made, and you can record at home. You can have a nice like digital audio workstation, but it's not the same vibe, is it? As Sun Studios.
Yeah, that's right. That history impacts the. It's funny because just the location can take a song that is still well written, well thought about, deep in your heart. You bring it to that place that inspires you beyond, and that can become a masterpiece just because of the inspiration of the location. Right. Absolutely.
You bet. And that's in part, why I'm here. I'm from Hawaii, but this is a very inspiring place. It's a very there's a lot to stimulate creativity in writing. Unfortunately, we don't have really great studios here. So, that you can write here, but it's better to leave the place to actually go track it.
Oh, how about that? That's interesting. By the way, give a shout out to the band. I want to make sure that we connect with you, the fans connect to you, make sure that we shout out to their website, Facebook, whatever you like to prefer, and maybe, of course, promise to come back on the show when you have new material out there. But in the meantime, how do people hook up with you currently?
Well, we're everywhere that bands are in the modern day. SeventhOrder.com, is probably a great place to start. You also find us we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on, even if you remember MySpace, we still have an active profile there. Yeah, there's still a lot of people there, amazingly enough. And iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, everywhere that bands are, you'll find Amazon. But probably the best place to go is just point your web browser to SeventhOrder.com, and we've got links to everything from there.
Tremendous. It was great having you in the show. I appreciate it. When you have that new music coming out, when you guys get together for that urgency and you create the music, make sure you guys sit through the show here. I'd appreciate that so much, and maybe I can rap with you all guys if you're all together in that urgent moment. That'd be great to have all you guys come on the show.
Count on it. I would love that, Dave. I'm a big fan of the show.
Well, thanks so much. I appreciate you coming on and being a fan of the show. And that's it for the Dave Darin Show. I appreciate you guys that joined in, listening to the show. If you want to come on the show, make sure you go to davedarin.com, and there's a form out there you can fill out. Or, believe it or not, I like to get stalkers involved in the show, so I give out my cell phone number. So it's 480-236-2111. If you want to book that way, you can still reach me by phone. So that's it, guys. Thanks so much for being on the show. Thank you as well. Seventh Order. By the way, it's the number 7TH order, right?
Yes, sir. Okay. 7THORDER.com.
Cool. Again, thanks a lot for being on the show, and I'm going to wrap with you later. Thanks so much, man.
Thanks, Dave. Have a good one.
You too.
Aloha. Aloha.
Aloha.